everybody to Chocolatey Software's April Twitch stream. Today I have two people with me, not just normally Gary. We've been doing a lot of Twitch streams just with Gary. We've also got Stephanie Hayes with us today, and I'll let both of them introduce themselves in just a second. Today we've kind of split the stream into two. We're going to look at, first of all, Script Builder, which lets you bulk install Chocolatey packages in just a few clicks. So this has been a work in progress for some time, and we deployed it in October last year. And after some great feedback, we've tweaked it and we've actually taken it out of previews. And since October, it's been in preview up until March. We did a blog post on it in March, and you should be able to see a link for that in the description on YouTube and also hopefully on Twitch as well. So after we look at Script Builder, we're going to look at the new releases of Chocolatey CLI, which went out last Wednesday, and that was 1.1. Prior to that, we did a 1.0.1 release as well after our birthday stream back in the 21st of March, where Chocolatey's 11th birthday. We released version 1 of a lot of Chocolatey products, but we also released Chocolatey licensed extension 4.1.0 as well, and Gary's going to take us through the changes in that through the release notes. So my name is Paul Broadbent. I'm a technical engineering manager here at Chocolatey Software, and I want to ask Stephanie and Gary now if they would introduce themselves. Stephanie.
Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Hayes, and I am a software engineer here, and I do most of the front end stuff, so everything you see on the websites is what I manage.
And these fantastic images behind us as well. It's Chocolatey's birthday month, which is why we still have the birthday images here. Gary, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. My name's Gary Ewan Park. I am a senior software engineer here at Chocolatey, and I don't make the pretty things on the website. I do some of the other stuff. I'm not allowed to make the pretty things on the website because they wouldn't look as good.
They don't
look pretty. Yeah, no, they don't at all. But yeah, that's me.
Okay, thanks guys. So please follow us on Twitch, and if you're also on YouTube watching this, you can subscribe to the channel. That helps you get notifications when we're doing a Twitch stream or a YouTube stream as well. And if you like the video on YouTube as well, that really helps us highlight the channel, highlight software automation as well, and get that out to everybody. So I'm going to now turn over to Stephanie and Gary, and they're going to talk about Script Builder, and you can see all about that and what we've actually done, the fantastic work that primarily Stephanie has done with Script Builder over the last long time now. Stephanie.
Yeah, so Paul kind of touched on it a little bit. Script Builder has something we've kind of been tossing around for quite a while. I think the first prototype of it came around 2018 timeframe. So we've been kind of playing with it and talking about it since then. And it's finally been released as of, like Paul said, October, and now it's out of preview. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. So you can see right now, here is the community repository. And what Script Builder really allows you to do is to bulk install Chocolatey packages. So instead of having to do one package at a time and try to figure out where all your stuff is, now you can just kind of add all of the packages you want into your Script Builder, and it will generate a script for you, which is very useful. So we're going to kind of go through this a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and add some packages. From this main page, you can see there's these little plus buttons. So when you click one of those, you'll see your builder pop up over here. And this will add that package to your builder. So you can see it over there. And then
Stephanie, could you zoom your browser in a little bit? Just make it a bit bigger on screen. That would be awesome.
Is that a little better?
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So we're going to go search for another application. And we're just going to go install Slack. So instead of pressing this little button over here, we're going to go into the actual package. And you'll see there are multiple ways that you can add these packages to Script Builder. right here, there's this handy Add to Script Builder button. So you can click that. Very useful, and you can see it's now been added. If you decided I didn't want that actually, you can either remove it from there and it will be removed that way, or you can also just remove it from there. Basically anywhere you see a button, you can add or remove. So we're going to go ahead and add that back in. We're going to go ahead and grab a few more packages here. So let's go ahead and install Zoom, and let's grab one more. Let's do Discord. One other way you can install packages with Script Builder is in the version history table. So this is helpful if, say, you need a specific version of something. What's also nice about this is that Script Builder does not allow you to have multiple versions of the same package installed. So if you were to try and go add another one, you will get a warning. So it won't let you. And you can pick which version you want. So say you actually wanted that one. And it will just go ahead and switch it over for you. So once you have all of those packages in there, you can go ahead and generate your script. What's one other thing that's really nice about this is it will remember what packages you have in your script builder. So say you were looking around on other parts of the website or anything, you come back, your packages will still be in here. Just to note at this time, though, they are stored in your browser. So these are not stored against your user account as of now. That's a feature we may add in the future, but as of now, they are just stored in your browser. So I'm going to click the generate script. Right here, you can review your packages. So if you wanted to delete any at this time, you could go and delete them. You can also go to the individual package page if you wanted to check out the package for any reason, you could do that. On here, you're able to click these steps, or you can use these buttons. So we have several different integration methods that you could choose. Gary is going to go ahead and talk about these other methods. Right now, we're just going to talk about the individual method. So we're going to choose that one. And it gives you an install script. So all those packages that you added, you could just hit copy and then go ahead and install those. You can also save it as a config file, and that will download it there. So that's mostly the steps to use Script Builder for an individual use case. If you find any issues while you're kind of in here, we do have this handy file an issue or view our docs. I'll go ahead and show you these docs super quick. This is the Script Builder documentation. It's under the community repository over here. And it gives you just some tips and highlights on Script Builder. If you have questions, it might be good to check this out. And then we have our home repository, where this is where you can go to file issues or maybe feature request if you see anything that you wish Script Builder had. We would love to hear about it. Or if you find any bugs that need to be fixed, we'd also like to hear about those too. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Gary, where he will talk about more of these integration methods here.
Perfect. Thank you very much for doing that, Steph. I'll just share my screen as well. So hopefully I'll be picking up where Steph left off. The one thing to mention from what Steph showed there was the package.config file. For those that don't know, in addition to doing a Choco install Firefox, you can absolutely do a Choco install packages.config file. So if we look quickly at this file, let me see if I can bring this up real quick. This contains essentially the same information that you can see in the script, but rather than doing it as individual Choco install commands, the packages.config file contains the exact same information, and you can do a single at the command line. You could then do Choco install packages.config, providing either the being in the same folder as that packages.config file that you downloaded, or providing the path to it, and it'll go off and it'll install all the packages at that version as well. So it's a really useful way to kind of get the packages that you want installed really quickly, and keeping them in a file that you can look at later when you need to. So what Steph mentioned I was going to talk about was the other integration methods that you want to use. So the one that Steph's just shown is the end-to-end as an individual user, selecting the packages you want to install, and then doing them either as the command or as the package.config file. But there's multiple other ones here that speak to the integrations that we have with some of the configuration management systems that are out there. The Ansibles, the Chefs, the PowerShell DSC, and the Puppets that are out there, as well as a generic approach. So what this is really about is helping you get kick-started with the packages you want to install, and then using them within each of those configuration management systems. So let's just use Ansible as an example. So when we switch to the Ansible integration methods, you'll see that this top level added a couple of extra steps. So we went from 3 steps to 5 steps, and that's really about garnering the information that's needed to make the integration work. Right. So the first one is that our assumption is that anyone who's using an internal configuration management system will be using an internal repository. And that's why we've labeled it as an internal repository URL, because most folks that are using a configuration management system don't want to, and maybe more specifically, shouldn't be using the Chocolatey community repository, because you want to make sure that as an organization that you vet all those packages, that you're happy that those packages do exactly what they're meant to do, and you've brought them from the community repository, or you've packaged them up yourself and you're using your own internal repository. So what this is really looking for is some sort of URL to my repository. So it would be an internal URL that might look like API/v2, but you'll know it'll be your Nexus system, it'll be your Artifactory system, it'll be whatever repository system you're using. And then once you've provided that, Script Builder will then use that URL where it needs to make the integration work the way it's intended. In the same way that Steph mentioned before, this information is stored in the local browser cache. So you only have to type it in once. Next time you come back to here, it'll still be there, and you'll be able to use it again later on. So in step 4, this is really getting into the nuts and bolts of bringing those packages internally and the steps that you need to do to make them available within your organization. So the first one there is a link out to our documentation, which is, this is the organizational approach that we recommend. These are the steps that we advise that you look at. So whether you're using something like Azure QDE running in Azure, or you're using the quick start guide to get up and running internally, or you're going through end-to-end building up your entire environment, this documentation talks to all of that. And then it's talking about the options of, well, how do you get the packages into your environment? How do you bring them from the Chocolatey community repository to make them available? So there's 2 options there. One is the open source or the commercial approach, depending on how you want to do it. And you're manually downloading and crafting those packages and making them so that they will work internally as you intended them to. Or there is the other approach, which is the internalized package, where you either use the Choco download command to, again, we attempted to make this as simple as possible, whereas you click the copy button and then you run those scripts. And then at that point, you would then push the internalized packages that have been, all of these ones have come from the selections that you made within Script Builder. And once you've got all of those, you can then jump to step 5, which is, well, here's the install script. So this is the Ansible specific YAML configuration that would ensure that that package from that source that you've configured. So again, here, that URL that we put in step 3, that's been brought forward into this configuration. So at this point, this is a copy paste into your Ansible playbook to get all of those packages installed and be at a point that you can then put them out to all the machines that were within your environment. Optionally here, there is some other things in terms of, just scroll down here a little bit. This is just a script that will, this is the more complete picture. This is, these are the individual tasks within a playbook. This is a complete playbook that includes setting up the recommended configuration for Chocolatey itself. So disabling the Chocolatey license feed, setting up the configuration for cache locations, etc. So it's a more complete playbook that takes into consideration all the best practices of Chocolatey itself. So that's the Ansible example. But if we took a step back a little bit, we could do the exact same thing for, well, let's go down the Puppet route. So we clicked on Puppet there. The internal repository URL, that stays the same because that didn't change. The environment setup, that's exactly the same as well, because what we're doing there is we're still getting those packages from the internal, from the Chocolatey community repository into our internal organization repository. One thing I didn't mention there was there is a link out to the documentation for how you can automate the package internalizer process, maybe involving something like Jenkins or some other automation engine to facilitate that. But we talk through that within our documentation as well. So that's something to have a look at. But with the having selected Puppet, which is the one I selected, now we get a different installation script, because at this point, we're now doing the Puppet specific DSL rather than the YAML-based approach for Ansible. And then down here again, there is a more specific, complete setup again of all the recommended Chocolatey configuration and setup in a way that you can literally just copy and paste this, put this into your environment, and you've got everything you need to get that up and running. So hopefully that's going to be of use to folks. I mean, we heard from folks that this is something that they find is really useful, especially with the kind of kickstarting their usage of Chocolatey within an organizational context. It gets them up to speed a little bit quicker because they don't have to go through all those steps manually. It's all here ready for them. So again, this is just the Chef example. And again, with the Chef specific setup and configuration that you can do, where that URL that we put in, that has all been brought through and used within the scripts. So hopefully it's of use to you. So I don't know if, Paul, you've been watching the chat to see if there's any questions, but if not, we could jump to going through the release notes for the products that we've shipped recently.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on the chat, Gary, and there's not been any questions so far. There was a couple of chat messages from Stevie and Ryan, who are here at Chocolatey Software, talking about packages.config file and how they're a bit of black magic that allows you to automate a lot of things, including allowing you to export the packages that you have available already installed with Chocolatey into a packages.config that you can then take to another machine and install that on there too. So I don't know if you can maybe quickly demonstrate the export command. Yeah, no, that's a good point. I meant to mention that, but I didn't. So yeah, it is, this packages.config file it's a concept that has been borrowed very much from NuGet. So it's not quite the same anymore because NuGet's changed the way that it does things. But historically, when you're using NuGet within a Visual Studio project, you always had this packages.config file that defined all of the packages that you wanted to install within that Visual Studio project. So we borrowed that concept for Chocolatey. And Script Builder now makes use of that from an export point of view. You can generate the list of packages that you want to install on a machine, but you can also
if you're on a machine, so if I go up here and I look at what I've got currently on my machine, I've got quite a few things on here. But if I wanted to take all of those packages from this machine and go to another machine, well, how do I do it? But that's where the Choco export command comes in. So if I go up to Choco export and look at the help command, what this is about is all about generating that packages.config file, whether specifying whether or not we want to include the version numbers that goes with it, and we can specify an output path. But if I just go to somewhere like CD into my C temp folder, I do have it in here. I've got nothing in here just now, but if I do Choco export, I'll just use all the defaults. What I'll end up with is a packages.config file that if I then look at that in code, then what that will contain is all of the packages that I have installed, but without the version numbers, because depending on where you're going or what the time scales that you want to do the import and export in, I might want to always install the latest version that's available, and Chocolatey will absolutely do that when you do the command choco install packages.config. But if I went back to that command and then did export but include version numbers, I've got tab completion on within my profile, so I didn't have to type that out. I can just do a tab to get the include version numbers. If I run that command, it will overwrite the one that was there before. It will back up the one that was there. So I've now got two files. What the backup, the packages.config.backup is the one that didn't have the version numbers in it, but the new packages.config, which I've obviously just minimized because that's not what I wanted to do. Now it's got the exact same list of packages, but it's now got the version numbers that are associated with it. Now, the Choco export command is a reasonably new command. But there's lots of ideas in and around being able to export whether or not a package is pinned, being able to export information about the original installation arguments that were passed in when the package was installed, being able to export all of that information to then take all of that and put it onto a new system. So there's the Choco export command is something that I've wanted to get into Chocolatey for quite a while now. I was actually able to sneak it into Chocolatey GUI quite a while back. So in Chocolatey GUI, there's always been, for those of us that remember the floppy disk icon, the floppy disk icon in Chocolatey GUI performs the exact same function. So I can generate another one in here, and then let's just call this packages from GUI.config. It's always been able to export, or it hasn't always been, that's been around for a little while longer than in Chocolatey itself. But it's the exact same function, taking that packages.config file, storing that somewhere, whether you want to store that in some sort of version control system or share it within your organization, you absolutely can do that. So yeah, a little bit of a black art that not everyone knows about. So hopefully that shone some light on that today. And I've got an update for Chocolatey that I need to perform, and I should probably do that. It's a good thing that we're away to talk about the release notes for said Chocolatey update.
Thanks, Gary. I think Corey mentioned in the chat as well that you can actually use the source in packages config as well. So he would use the Windows feature source to install some software with a single Choco install command. You can. That's a reasonably new addition as well. But yeah, if you wanted to, so we're going off tangent a little bit here, but let's roll with it. But if we were to do Choco install, I can never remember the name of the feature itself, but you could do IIS -- Windows features. And that's not right. That's going to be -- source equals Windows features. So assuming you knew what the feature name was, you could install IIS as a Windows feature with Chocolatey, and then it will run off and do the work of getting that feature installed. But what Corey is referring to is that you, in addition to being able to export a packages.config file, you can absolutely augment it as you wanted to as well. So I could come in here and I could do package ID equals, again, if I remembered what the Windows feature name was, then in here you could do source equals Windows features. So that would then take that source
and make that available at the point of installation when you run the Choco install packages.config. So no, you absolutely can do that today as well. There's lots of ideas. Some folks in the community, they've got lots of ideas about, again, augmenting this packages.config file to include additional information. And there's some, I think there's some open feature pull requests on the repository today that go into that and some to provide more functionality. So excited to get that added to the product.
One final question on packages.config. I promise this stream is not about packages.config files. It's been asked again in the chat, can you use packages.config with the Choco upgrade command, or is it just the install command?
I'm fairly sure that it's just the install command. I don't believe it's supported an upgrade. No, I'm trying to think of the use case for that. I'm sure there is one, but no, not at the minute. I don't believe so. I could check, but no, I don't think so. That's the answer. That's my final answer.
Okay. So that's Script Builder in a nutshell. One of the things that we talk about Chocolatey quite a lot is that features and things that we add, features, functionality, it's all driven by our customers and our community. So if you've got an idea of something you would like to see in Script Builder, if you've got some additional functionality in there, or maybe a tweak here, or this would be quite good to add, then please let us know. As I said, all of this is driven by the actual original concept of Script Builder was driven by customer and user feedback as well. So, this is really important too. So please don't hesitate to reach out and make some suggestions. So I want to thank Stephanie for demonstrating Script Builder for us just now. Thank you very much, Stephanie. This is your first Twitch stream that you've been on. So awesome. Thank you very much for coming on today. And what we're going to do now is we're going to jump into having a look at the release notes for Chocolatey, the new Chocolatey versions that were released since version 1. There's been 2 of those, Chocolatey CLI versions, and also a new version of Chocolatey licensed extension as well. So I'm going to turn over to Gary for that. He's going to go through the release notes and talk a little bit about it, and then we'll kind of sum up and maybe answer some more questions at the end.
Perfect. So yeah. Let's start with the elephant in the room and regarding the 1.0.1 release. So you'll notice that as per the release notes, that came out quite quickly after the 1.0.0 release of Chocolatey CLI. And basically we broke some folks and we wanted to not break them. When we first released Chocolatey CLI version 1 and its cohort Chocolatey license extension v4.0, it was kind of always envisioned that you would install both at the same time, because there is if you're installing the Chocolatey license extension, there's a dependency on 1.0 of Chocolatey CLI, so they would go hand in hand. But there are some other customers out there, and this is more aimed at the commercial side of Chocolatey, but there are some customers that are on a perpetual license, meaning that they have a license of Chocolatey that will never expire. The issue there, though, is that they might want to upgrade Chocolatey CLI, but they're maybe not able to update to the latest version of the Chocolatey license extension. So for those perpetual customers, things broke. They installed Chocolatey CLI v1, and because we removed the Choco version command and the Choco update command, the old version of Chocolatey license extension that they were running then complained because those commands didn't exist anymore. That's something that we are looking to, that kind of coupling between Chocolatey license extension and Chocolatey CLI, that is something that we're looking to improve on. But what we did there was a kind of an emergency break fix that meant that those perpetual license customers would be able to use Chocolatey CLI v1 while still using the older Chocolatey license extension. Now, what I will point out, though, and this is something that we are starting to document a little bit on the website to a greater extent, is those couplings between package versions and what the support and maintenance contract that goes with that and what that's about. So while Chocolatey CLI 1.0.1 is compatible with older versions of the Chocolatey license extension, at some point in the future, that will break. We will at some point release a version of Chocolatey CLI that will not work with older versions of the Chocolatey license extension before this version. That's just the way things are going to have to work going forward. But we have some internal discussions that need to be had with regard to support contracts and things like that. So that's why we did the bug fix, so that we could continue to support those customers. So following that, we then, well, 6 days later, so again, quite a quick release, but the quicker releases that you're seeing in Chocolatey is kind of testimony to some of the background work that the ops team have been doing and allowing us to have an infrastructure that allows us to do these much faster cadence releases when we require them. It's not something we're aiming to do. I mean, we don't want to release a new version of Chocolatey every week, but we are in a position where we can do that quicker turnaround, which is great to have. But to reassure some folks, we're not updating Chocolatey every week. There will be a normal cadence that we'll get into with the releases. It was just there was things that we felt needed to be done with in this release, and that's why we did it. So v1.1 shipped on March 30th. So the main crux of this one was around the improvements. I'll come back to the bug fixes in a second, but the improvements are around making it much more visible to, I'm going to talk about this one first, the second improvement. We're trying to make it much more visible to customers, users of the Chocolatey license extension, when they're using a version of Chocolatey that isn't supported currently. So if I do a Chocolist local only here, I should be in that situation. Well, no, I'm not in that situation. I need to downgrade. I've currently got Chocolatey v1 installed, and I've got Chocolatey extension 4.1. But if I was running an earlier version of Chocolatey, I would start to get warning prompts saying that we're in a non-supported state. And by that, I mean, we're not going to be shipping updates unless they're really security-related issues on older versions of the Chocolatey license extension. So our recommendation is that you upgrade that if and when you can. And there are both now installation checks. So at the point of installation, if you install a version of Chocolatey or Chocolatey license extension where they're incompatible, there will be a warning at the point of installation, and there'll also be a warning at the point of time when you run any Chocolatey command. There'll be a warning before and after the command, making it as crystal clear as possible that these things are incompatible. Now, if you're a perpetual customer and you know about this incompatibility and you're happy with it, that's where the Choco feature enable flag will disable those compatibility checks. In the normal way of Chocolatey, you can also do that on a per command basis with the -- skip compatibility checks option. But really what we're saying there is, you know about the situation, you've opted into essentially bypass that check, and you're happy that the system might not work as expected. And that's really what that was about. The other one, the quick one there, was that we got some feedback from the community, or it might have been via a support ticket, that we were on an older version of 7-zip in terms of the version of 7-zip that we embed within Chocolatey itself. We were on an older version that shipped in 2018. So normally with 7-zip, we bump the version number when there is a CVE identified on the product. There hadn't been a CVE identified, but given that it's been 3 years between the releases, we thought it made sense to bump the version of Chocolatey, to bump the version of 7-zip that we ship within Chocolatey itself. So that's what that one was. This one, support installation checks, that's the one that I mentioned before. So in the same way that you have the runtime check with a warning, you will get a warning at the point of installation as well. And really that is, I'm just make sure that I'm talking about the same thing there. This is support installation checks for incompatible versions of Chocolatey. Yeah, no, that was the one that I'm talking about. Yes. Okay. So the other part, so then there were some bug fixes. So what we did, because we knew that there was this release upcoming, what we did was we went and looked at some of the open pull requests that were in the repository, and we looked at what we could bring in this release because we knew it was going out. So there were some fixes with regard to for example, the Python alternative source does not handle the all keyword correctly. So Choco upgrade all works the way you expect it to. But if you were to do a Choco upgrade all -- source Python, which was one of the alternative sources, it didn't handle the all keyword correctly. So there was some work from the cake as a lie in there to get that updated to handle that correctly. This one was from Corey, I believe. So incorrect error message is displayed when chocolate.config file becomes corrupt. If your system is in a state where the chocolate.config file, which is where all the chocolate configuration information lives, if that becomes corrupted, when chocolate attempts to read and write into that file, it would come back with an error message that actually didn't make any sense in terms of what the underlying cause was. So the error message has been improved there to make it crystal clear about what's going on. When running Choco outdated, this is another one that came from the cake is a lie. When running the Choco outdated command, the wrong exit code would be shown when there's a pinned package and you're using the ignore pinned option. So when you pin a package, the upgrade of that package won't happen when you run Choco upgrade all, and also it will be reported as pinned when you run the Choco outdated command. But if you run it with the -- ignore pinned, it should do what it says, i.e. it should ignore the pinned package and only report outdated on the other ones. And the exit code was reporting it incorrectly. The count, there's a mismatch between the counts. So that was a fix from the cake is a lie. Windows PowerShell incorrectly identifies a PowerShell file that is UTF-8 encoded with a bomb as being assigned one. This was a really, really interesting issue that it was Corey and the team that found this one. Long story short, when we ship a version of Chocolatey, we want to make sure that all of our artifacts are signed correctly, so that they're authentic code signed with the Chocolatey Software Inc. Certificate. And in doing that, Corey had found that there was a weird edge case where a completely empty file that had nothing in it was being shown as being marked as having being signed when we hadn't signed it. What it came down to is that Windows has this other mechanism where it has a library of signed files, and because in a release of Windows, a completely empty file had made it into this catalog. When we generated an empty PowerShell file in terms of a profile file, it was being marked as authentic code signed when we didn't do it, and we were just wanted to make sure that Chocolatey was correctly identifying which files were and weren't signed. Read more about it in the issue. It was an interesting one, let's put it that way. And the final fix was unable to install Chocolatey using PowerShell, unable to install Chocolatey using PowerShell core. Bottom line on this one is the installation script was between PowerShell, Windows PowerShell and PowerShell core, there was a change in the one of the properties into the method, and one worked in Windows PowerShell, but it didn't work on PowerShell core. So the installation script was updated to take that into account. I think that's everything there. And so what I was going to do now is I was going to jump to the corresponding release notes for 4.1.0 of the Chocolatey license extension. So some of the changes that went into 4.1 are kind of tangentially related to the functionality that's been added into Chocolatey extension, i.e., not to Chocolatey extension, sorry, into Chocolatey CLI, basically making sure that the two things are compatible and they work together. So I'm going to talk about this one, the second one first. So we added an attribute to the Chocolatey license extension that we stamp when we release a new version of Chocolatey license extension. We now stamp that assembly with an attribute that says what is the minimum supported version of Chocolatey that works with this licensed version of Chocolatey. And the reason we do that is then at runtime, we can then do checks to make sure that the version of the Chocolatey license extension that you're running works with the version of Chocolatey that you're running. And that's really what drives the compatibility checks on open source that you can now turn off if you are happy with that situation. So we already kind of had that information because that information was defined in the dependencies of the new spec file for the Chocolatey license extension. But this is bringing it into C# code land so that at runtime, we can make the same assertions to ensure that the packages are compatible. So that's what that one's about. It wasn't a change in any functionality. It was literally a new attribute being added to the assembly that we are shipping as part of the release. This feature is a little bit more interesting, and this one has come directly from some support tickets and some conversations that we've had within the community. But what this is trying to guard against is that some folks, when they did a Choco upgrade all, they ended up unexpectedly, perhaps, getting a new version of Chocolatey or a new version of the Chocolatey license extension because there was nothing stopping them from updating Chocolatey when they run Chocolatey upgrade all. Now, Chocolatey, since version 0.10.14, has had this concept of a configuration setting called the upgrade all exceptions. So if, for example, you installed Google Chrome and you wanted to use the built-in updater within Google Chrome, and you never wanted to upgrade the Chocolatey, the Chrome package through Chocolatey, then you could manually add the Google Chrome package name into the upgrade all exceptions configuration parameter. You absolutely do that today still. But what we've done is we've added a new feature flag that you can flip that, and if I go over here and go down to here, look for it here, not that one, this one. So we added a new feature that is called the exclude Chocolatey packages during upgrade all. So the feature is essentially trying to do exactly what it says on the tin. If you flip that flag on, it's off by default, it's disabled by default, but if you enable that feature, what will happen is that all of the Chocolatey products, so Chocolatey CLI, Chocolatey license extension, Chocolatey GUI license extension, Chocolatey agent, on all the Chocolatey central management packages will automatically be added to that upgrade all exceptions configuration parameter at runtime. So if you never want to get an unexpected update of a Chocolatey component when you run Choco upgrade all, you can enable that flag, feature flag, and it will be respected by the Chocolatey license extension. So it's basically a guard. Other package managers already do this. So we're just kind of following along, if you like. But Chocolatey will no longer, or Chocolatey can be set up in a way that it will no longer upgrade itself or any of its official Chocolatey products during a Choco upgrade all command. And then what you would do is you would look to upgrade the Chocolatey and Chocolatey components at an allotted time to make sure that that upgrade works as you expect it to, rather than just getting it as a result of Choco upgrade all, which some folks schedule to run on a nightly basis. So with that is the releases, or the recent releases of Chocolatey CLI and Chocolatey license extension. So any questions for any of that, Paul?
No, there's actually no questions for that in the chat, Gary. One of the things I was going to mention about the new feature that we've added to not allow, or to allow you to disable the upgrading of the Chocolatey components when you're doing an upgrade all, is that it is off by default just now, but we have talked about turning it on by default in a later version of Chocolatey. So what we really want to do just now is get people's feedback for it. So we'd really appreciate people letting us know what they think of that. And you know, that will influence whether we decide to turn that on by default. But the whole purpose of it is to make sure people don't get into that state that some people have got into, where things haven't quite worked the way that they should have done. So it's about protecting the end user. It's not about stopping people from doing what they potentially want to do. So you can turn it off or on depending on what your organization wants, because it is a licensed extension feature. I'll just double check the chat again, Gary. Let me have a look. No, there's no additional questions. If anybody's got any questions just now, please drop them into chat. We do have a little bit of time left. If not, we'll always finish early. It's absolutely fine. One of the things I think is important to highlight as well, Gary, is that while we talked about or while we've released 2 versions since version 1, that 1.01 and that 1.1.0, it's important to kind of highlight that 1.0.1 was a really quick release in order to fix that particular issue. I know you'd said that, but I just wanted to kind of highlight that. It was to fix that particular issue for people that you know, encountered the problems. And then the 1.1.0 was just building on top of that work. We could have left 1.0.1 and put it into 1.1.0, you know, and then we only had 1 version release, but we really wanted to fix the issues for our users. So that's why we did 2 of those releases, and they seem to have went quite successful. There's been no problems come up. Nobody said, hey, 1.0.1 hasn't worked for us, or this, you know, you've put out 2 new versions, that's caused us issues. So while we're doing these quick releases, and while it's not something we really want to do is keep releasing you know, products so quickly, although we can do that, it hasn't caused any of our customers or any of our users any issues. That certainly that I've heard of, Gary. I don't know about you, if you've heard anything.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's the same.
Yeah. So it's all good. It's all good in that respect. And again, we'll be iterating and producing more functionality in Chocolatey as we go forward. Now we're at that version 1 release, we've drawn a line in the sand, and we'll be able to add additional features that perhaps we've not been able to add before, because we've hit that milestone. So again, I know I'm repeating what I repeated earlier and what I've done in previous streams, but everything that we do is really driven by our customers and our users. So the community let us know about things that are a problem. We get GitHub issues that let us know things are a problem, or there's ideas in there as well. It's the same with support tickets. We have issues, we have ideas, and that all goes into the melting pot to what we provide at the end of the day in Chocolatey. So if you have any ideas, you have any suggestions, please raise a GitHub issue for them. Maybe a GitHub discussion, depending on what it is, or a support ticket. We can't always guarantee that we'll do things, you know, tomorrow, like a lot of people want us to do, but we don't ever dismiss any ideas or any additional functionality that people want to see. It might go on the back burner for a while, but it will. We do look at it. We don't ignore any of it. So it's important that all of our customers and our community let us know about that. So just jumping back into the chat again, and just having a look. How many Iron Brew have you consumed today, Gary? Stevie's asking.
I did see that. I wasn't sure if you're going to ask that question or not. I can confirm that I have had exactly 1 Iron Brew today, Stevie, and it was glorious. It's the golden nectar that is Iron Brew is amazing. So, and
it's made from girders as well.
It is made from girders, and I'm not getting paid to make that promotion. That is my own opinion that I stand by. So yeah, Iron Brew for the win.
If nobody's heard of Iron Brew, it's a very Scottish drink. The best-selling soft drink in Scotland. So yeah. Okay, if we've got no additional questions, I think what we'll do is we'll end the stream. We're 8 minutes early, so that's good. So we've come to the end of the stream today, guys, and thank you very much for joining us. In the future, what I want to do is I want to bring more team members into the stream. So we've got Stephanie on here today, and we've got Gary on here today as well. And I want to bring more team members in here to let you see the Chocolatey team. We did do a little bit of that on the birthday stream where some of the team came on. Actually, the majority of the team came on. Some people were on holiday, unfortunately, but So you've seen a lot of the team then, but I want to bring more people on to talk about more things. And that kind of leads us on to, if you have any ideas or suggestions for future streams, things you want to cover, ideas that perhaps we want to have a look at and do a whole stream on, or just even a part of a stream, then please let us know. The Discord details, which is the best place to let us know, are actually in the description of this video. So if you look down below on Twitch, you'll see our you'll see the options there for our social media. So we've got Twitter and Discord on there. And again, if you look down below, if you're on YouTube, you'll see exactly the same thing. And Gary's just going through the Discord link just now for you to be able to see. So in Discord, you can ask questions. You'll be able to chat with the team, and we'll be able to take some ideas from there if you've got any for them. So I want to say thank you very much to Gary and Stephanie for covering both Script Builder and the release notes for Chocolatey CLI and Chocolatey License Extension. Really appreciate it. As I said before, this is Stephanie's first stream, and you did an awesome job, Steph. Thank you very much. It's really appreciated. What I want to also say is if you're on YouTube, please like this video. It helps us get through all those YouTube algorithms, and it gets it to the right people so that they can find out more about Chocolatey and software automation. Thank you for watching today as well. We really appreciate the support on our Twitch streams and also our webinars as well. You're the reason we do this. Again, I'm repeating myself, but I'm going to have to stress it. You guys drive what we do. Both customers and community, and if you're not here to watch your streams, then we're not going to do the stream. So that they're here, you're helping us and you're supporting us in that. And if you want to find out when the next time we stream or when we add content to YouTube, for example, then please subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Twitch, and you'll get those notifications. So thank you very much, everybody. Take care, stay healthy, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.